Grief in Brussels, today on The World. I'm Marco Werman. Brussels mourns the victims of yesterday's attacks, and that includes Muslims in the city.
Today, the Muslims are mourning like everybody else, and you don't see them because they look like you.
Also, what that surveillance photo of the suspects at the airport in Brussels says about them.
You could say they're almost casual and relaxed in the way that they're walking into the airport. There's no sign that these people are about to blow themselves to smithereens.
Plus, President Obama's challenge in Argentina.
Obama is not just Obama. He's also the president of a nation that 40 years ago backed what they consider one of the most tragic eras of this nation.
That and more coming up today here on The World. Good to be with you, and we begin today in Brussels with the aftermath of yesterday's attacks there. Belgium began 3 days of official mourning today for the victims, and investigators identified two of the suicide bombers in Brussels as brothers. That's interesting because it is not the first time family ties have emerged among terror suspects.
If you were to look at all terrorist activities in the last 25 years, at least 30% of the time, you're dealing with family members.
We'll hear more about that later. First, though, I want to turn to Belgian playwright Ismail Saidi. We've had him on the show before talking about his play Jihad. It's about young people from Belgium who are recruited by ISIS and become disillusioned. Ismail uses the play to talk to Belgian school kids about the dangers of radicalization. Ismail, thanks for being with us. What is it like in Brussels today?
You know, it's like that we are in a nightmare and we're just waiting to waking up because we don't know how many people are dead, really, because they're still looking in the subway. And I think that we will just get the list of the names tonight. So we're completely lost and praying for all those people who are dead and the others who are injured.
I mean, you're right. This is a nightmare, but I would say that the contours of this nightmare were, I guess you saw them somewhat earlier than most people. I'm just wondering how that's changed your perspective on what happened yesterday.
You know, the saddest things I can tell you, and I know maybe you will be shocked, but we were waiting for that. You know, like waiting near the window, seeing the storm, hearing the storm, and just waiting for the storm to coming. And that's what happened yesterday. We were waiting for stuff like this. And we're just shocked now that it really happens home. So I can't find words right now. We're just all mourning. The problem for me is that it's more than 1 year that I'm working with this play, and we're just talking about it each day with kids, with teenagers, with adults. So it's like I'm always in this subject, and now the reality is more ugly than the fiction.
Ismail, you've got a pretty interesting background for a playwright. You're the son of North African immigrants. You're Muslim. You worked also as a policeman for years. So how are people there responding to you?
I grew up in a part of Brussels where they found yesterday the bombs that they used for the attack. So we're coming from there. And when you have someone who's playing or who's writing about things that he really knows, I think that this minority, it feels himself like, okay, there is someone from us and he's talking to us. Let's talk together. I think that's it.
As a police officer who worked in Brussels for 15 years, do you think you notice things the rest of us wouldn't, the rest of Belgium does not notice?
No, not really. I think you can notice them by living inside those neighborhood, not by being policemen. I don't think so. I think you notice some stuffs when you're a policeman, but not radicalization, not marginalization, you know, like being outside, being at the edge of town. Okay?
Yeah.
So I think that to know what's happening on the edge, you have to be in the edge, finally. And I don't think that policemen can see that.
Right. Well, as we now know, the two suspects, the brothers, were both born in Belgium.
Yeah, in Schaerbeek, where I'm coming from.
Critics were blaming Muslims for not protesting yesterday, condemning what happened, and you tweeted a response.
I was telling that if you don't see Muslims going on the streets, it's because they're already on the streets. They're walking, you know, they're helping people. They're driving cabs. They're nursing people in the hospitals. They're looking for injuries of their families. They're waiting for people who will never come back. And they're mourning. Today, the Muslims are mourning like everybody else. That's the reason why you don't see them. And you don't see them because they look like you. That's the reason. The reason why you don't see Muslims on the streets protesting, it's because they are protesting.